hard to believe it's been 12 years, over 12 years since I purchased my first Grand Force Brooks axe. Swedish axe, the small forest axe, my favorite axe of all time. It has been with me and has been a companion to me through 3 different properties, logging, timber framing, just been a constant companion, and I just can't. I've never been able to find anything close that could replace it. It just fits that spot for a small axe. So I noticed last summer that the head started to get loose a little bit. Very, very imperceptible, but you know those little things bother me, and I like to have them done right. So today I've got a fun project for you. This is going to be a very first for me. This is the first time that we'll ever we're going to rehang my small forest axe with a factory Grand Force Brooks handle. I must admit that I'm a little bit sad to cut this handle off. I almost don't want to do it, but there's so much history here, and just all the little cracks and dings, and even some things there I can even remember when they happened, and covered with the sap, but I guess it's just a handle. So it's a powerful testimony to me on how well these axes are made. That this handle has hung on here like this bad. I mean, I've used it so far outside of its design specifications. I've abused it. I've pounded wedges with it. I've actually pounded metal. It's a staggering that it's held up, and I think it would probably go another 12 years, to be honest with you. But we've got a handle, and I thought this would be a fun project. Look at that, even. That's where I measured that 12 inches there for if I need to measure things there. I use that all the time. So that's the original handle there. So let's take a look at the new handle. So, and how I came about this handle. So I've got a subscriber by the name of Babbick, who this was so timely, Babbick, as I expressed in the email. He sent me 2 things. He sent me a brand new sheath, a factory sheath for the small. Look at that. Isn't that nice? Solid brass snap there. I like their sheaths. I really do. When I first got my axe, I hadn't had it very long. Jack was just a baby. We were up at our off-grid place, and he had taken it, started pounding on a log with a hatchet on it. And I keep my axes sharp, and so of course, it destroyed the sheath. And I haven't had a sheath since. So thank you very much for sending that. It's nice to have the original sheath there. But he also sent this handle, and man, is it a good one. I've heard a few guys that have gotten handles that had grain orientation that they weren't happy with from the factory. As we've said, anything that's 45 degrees or less running this way with the line of the handle, I'm fine with. If this was a 45 degree pattern on, I would still use it, no problem. But this here is, you just can't get much better than that. And you can always tell, because you see the grains like a topographical map. How they stack up to points, to buttes and mountains and such. You can always see that gray orientation. So when you have an uninterrupted piece, you can see right there. That's just like the peak of the topographical map. You know that the grain has been oriented correctly. Really nice, heavily deep embossed Grand Force Brooks of Sweden logo in there, which is nice. Look at mine. It's just almost no longer perceptible. There, it used to look like that. So let's take a look at the handle. Just looks beautiful. It'd be interesting to see how it fits, but let's see what they sent here. Let's see how that's a nice wedge right there. Looks like a hickory or ash, maybe. Very nice wedge. Oh, look at this. This is interesting. I've never seen this before. Wow. Now I have a lot of step wedges. I've got more step wedges. My granddad had jars of them, bless him, and I have them now. Never seen one like that before. Isn't that an interesting design? It looks like a little fork. I wonder why that is. And it's cadmium plated as well. That's interesting. I wonder if the fork pattern like that prevents splitting. I'll bet that it would. Well, that's really nice. So there we have it. So there we have the 2 pieces right there. It's as I looked at them before I started the camera, they appear to be very close. I'm going to be really interested to see how much fitting work, if any, is going to be required for this, but we'll find out here in a minute. So the only tools I think that I'm assuming that we're going to need right here is going to be a 4-in-hand. Now I've always said this in the past, I could make any tool handle or axe handle, and so can you, with a tool, a knife, and this. These 4-in-hands are really nice, and they call them 4-in-hands because they have 4 different basically tools in one. You have a coarse rasp here, and you have a fine rasp here where it's flat, and if you flip it over, you have a coarse and fine that's on a radius, on a convex right there. And what's nice about that is that helps you to get those round areas. Because if you try to shape round areas with a flat file, the only thing that comes in contact are the edges, and it'll just basically gouge holes in it. So whenever you're doing round work or radius, you use the round sides, and so you have all those options. But you can do so much. These are an essential tool for your axe kit right there. Just a wonderful tool. So I'll bring you guys over here to the newly built saw rack. So, well, I think probably the best choice for this is going to be. This is a new saw that I got. I just ordered. I haven't used. Well, I have used it. I've played around with it a little bit, but it's a Japanese pole saw, Gaucho. I think this is the one that everyone likes. The first one that I bought was this big one, and I've used this one for timber framing, but I found it to be too big for small shop work, and so I got kind of a smaller version of this, and I think that's going to be one that I use a lot in here. I also got this one, which is kind of like a back saw, and it's you won't believe how fine those teeth are if you look right here. So the neat thing about these gauchos, these saws, is that they have they're 2-in-1. You've got a cross-cutting blade right here, and then you've got a ripping blade on both sides, so you can do so much with them. Now this one here, just look at this. This is a dovetail saw. It's just amazing. It's like a laser beam for wood. It doesn't tear out. It doesn't leave any burrs. It is a magnificent little saw for small dovetail work, tendons, shoulders, and that sort of thing. That won't be suitable for here because it doesn't have any set in it. But this saw here will be the one we want. Boy, it kind of surprises me how hard this is for me to do. I just don't want to do it. It needs doing, but I don't want to do it. Just gonna have to do it anyway. I want to cut nice and flat here in case we need to pound against it. It really is hurting me. It hurts me, this right here. I did not enjoy that. I did not. Now it'd be best if we could get the wedge out. I can't see it because it's all covered with pine or with sap and tar and dirt. So let's see if we can scrape that down there and get that wedge out of there. Yeah, there it is. Plus, I wanted to see how they had put it in there. It looks like they had put it in there sideways. There it is. All right, let's see if we can't knock that out of there. I've had pretty good luck in the past getting these out with a punch with a reasonable point on it and a ball peen hammer. If you can get a hold of the corner of it there, usually you can drive them out sideways. That's kind of interesting there. Now that's the same one from the new one there, and the reason why it's bent, I probably bent it just taking it out, but that could be straightened and reused. That's interesting. It must be a proprietary deal. Now we've got all the steel out of there and we can drill this out. It's hard to put into words how wonderful it is to have your wood shop organized and when you need something, be able to take 3 or 4 steps to go get it. You know, the thing that got me kind of started on this, and it's probably been 6 months ago or so. We were in our morning devotional time. We were reading the story of the Israelites in the Old Testament, and God brought them into the desert there, and He gave them very specific instructions on how to build the camp, and it was laid out perfectly, mathematically perfectly, and the 12 tribes and the spacing of everything, and how all of the camps were in relationship to the temple. And it dawned on me when we were going through that God likes order, and there's a reason why that. And I think that the more order we have in our lives, the more order we have in our work, in our desk, or our computer, or how it files, all those things, it translates. It gives you a calmness and a peaceness that carries out. The more disorder, well, it does for me anyway. I think some people operate better that way. I don't so much, but I'm enjoying being organized. So it'll go a long ways to make your life a lot easier to drill out this top section. You're not, if the wedge has been put in properly, you're not going to get that wedge out. So what I'm looking for is I want a bit where I can get 3 or 4 holes across there, but I'm not going to come in contact with the metal, of course. So what we're doing is we're essentially moving that material. I might even go smaller there. I don't want to damage one of these nice bits right there. I think that'll be perfect right there. We'll just drill that out, and then we should be able just to drift this out, no problem. Someone asked me in the comments, how come I don't listen to music when I'm working in the shop? And what I typically do, and sometimes it sneaks into the videos and I don't catch it, I listen to audiobooks. And I love classic English literature, usually at the Victorian time. I don't like much written over the 19th century or so. But I did not grow up in a reading family, and that was really, there was no importance put upon that. But I have a real passion for it now, and so what I've done is I found an app. It's called Overdrive. Years ago, I've used it for years. That you can download free audiobooks, just like iTunes, but from the library. It doesn't cost you anything. And so what I started doing is I like the top 100 or top 500 lists of the best classic literature all the time. Tolstoy, Dickens, Poe, Wilde, Byron. That type of author, usually British, early American. And so I went through all of those. War and Peace and Anna Karenina and the Bleak House, Dickens, all those things. I really enjoy those books, and that's typically what I listen to. But we're listening to it as a family in the evenings. I read this some years ago, and I didn't remember how good it was, but it's called 3 Men in a Boat. And that I would get that if I were you. If you want to laugh until you cry, it's a story about these 3 English guys that go on this camping trip in a small boat up I think it's up the Thames. It's the funniest thing you've ever. We just laughed laughing so hard last night I almost fell off the couch. 3 Men in a Boat. I think it's considered by many critics to be among probably in the top 100 or so of all time of fiction written. Oh, I'm having a terrible time with this sickness that I got. I got up off my sick bed today to come out here, and I thought, you know what, I just can't lay there anymore. I'm going to feel bad whether I'm in here or there. What difference does it make? I might as well getting something accomplished. But it is mine. It is nicer. It keeps my mind off all my woes. If you line it up right, you can get all the way through there without hitting the sides, and now we can kind of start working. Let's see if we can't take that drift and drift that out of there. One interesting fact about Grand Force Brooks axes is each one of them is personally stamped by the man who made it. They've each got their individual maker's mark. This one here has an AS. I forget all the names. Anders. If he's Swedish, you can bet he's Anders. We have an AS. These are my 3 favorite ones here. This is the hand hatchet. This was made by, it's got an MM on there. And even in addition to that, it's got a crown. And the sheath is even, it's pretty fancy. This would be a great gift. That's one of my favorites. And then this is the Scandinavian Forest X. I think it's the next size up from the small Forest X. This here has an LB on it. That's got the crown on it as well. Well, I guess mine does too. It's just very shallow, just covered in fir sap there. But that's kind of a neat touch, isn't it? So to get the remnant, the remaining handle out, we're going to use this is just a drift, just a piece of tool steel hardened bar. Something Granddad made there, I think. Now, this is, a lot of guys say you should never beat on a vise, but you know, I live in the real world, and it's just what happens. And so, see, this could go either way here. Sometimes that's going to go well. That's the thing when you drill it out, and you don't have to beat on everything so hard. So that's all we have time for today. We'll pick up tomorrow and we'll get it all finished up. But I do have some good news to share with you. So, of course, yesterday's video, I titled it something like, I need your help. And that was in getting information and helping me to decide what would be the best rifle for me to put together or to buy over the counter for a long-range tactical rifle class that I'm taking through the Leupold Academy in July. Well, it just so happened that one of my subscribers by name of Tom is a half owner in TNT Armament in Nebraska, and those guys are Model 700 precision rifle experts, specialists. And we had a great conversation on the phone yesterday and basically laid out a custom gun for me. And the nice thing about it, what Tom is doing is Tom said, hey, we enjoy the channel. We don't expect anything back from you, but you buy the materials, we'll help you spec it out, we'll do all the gunsmithing, and we'll do it right, and we'll do it free of charge. So generous of him. So I'm going to put his link to his Facebook page. That's TNT Armament. And man, I could just tell by talking to him, what a nice, humble guy. And he is all knowing about Model 700, and I can't wait to do it. So what I'm going to do is I did want to stick with the 700, is I'm going to ship an action to him. Now I got 2 choices. It's going to be a hard choice. So I've got a family gun. I've got a 700 that's a long action, which would be fine, but I decided to chamber it in 6.5 Creedmoor. That seems like it just makes sense. And I guess the thing about it is, if I do use the long action and we build this gun up, if I ever want to change it back, if I want to go to a 300 Win or anything like that, then or 7mm, it's just a matter of changing the barrel. So that's kind of nice. So I'm thinking about doing that. Or the other option would be just to go out and to buy a gun like Cabela's, for example, has a new 700 on sale. It's around $450 or so, and just cannibalize it, which seems very strange, but it's actually cheaper to buy a rifle on sale than it is to buy an action. And according to Tom, he says he seems that the actions that are shipped separate from Remington are not quite the quality. So he's going to go through and true everything up, blueprint it. We're going to put it into a nice aluminum bedded stock. We're going to put a premium barrel, Timney trigger, probably go with a 22-inch barrel, not an M24 profile, but somewhere in between, more like maybe kind of a varmint. But that is going to be really cool. And so it just so happens that we have to go down that part of the country in a couple months. So we might even actually go down there and get him on camera and pick up the rifle. So we'll see about that. It would be fun to do a video with him, and he kind of explained what he did. But that's going to be nice. So the thing that really stuck out that he said to me is, "I'll build you a rifle that if you miss, you'll know it's your fault." So I thought that's pretty good. I guess one less thing to worry about. So look forward to that. But thanks for all of you who sent the personal messages and all of the great information out there. And it really was subscribers that as well as Tom, that persuaded me against the 308 to go with the 6.5 Creedmoor. I don't have. I've outgrown the whole macho thing. The funny thing about it is, so I grew up hunting, elk hunting, Eastern Oregon. Started hunting when I was 12. First gun, 8mm Mauser. Second gun, 30-06. Third gun, 300 Weatherby Magnum. Now that's kind of a caliber maybe most of you haven't heard of, but it's even bigger than a 300 Winchester Magnum. And I used to shoot that thing, and I shot a lot of elk with it and targeted it in, and it was murder. It was murder to shoot. It was something I never enjoyed it. When I got it, it was probably 140 pounds, and that is a great big Magnum. I mean, it's quite a bit bigger than a Winchester, 300 Winchester, and it was not very fun. And it took me a long time to get over the flinch from that. That scarred me so bad. I don't need it. I'm not interested in it anymore. Even the 7mm Magnum, that's not a very fun gun to shoot. I have one of those that I've hunted with as well. I like the idea of something that I can shoot that's comfortable, that I can shoot, put 100 rounds through on a bench and not be punished for it. So the whole macho thing, it doesn't do anything for me. I don't need that. I need a gun for predator hunting, coyotes at 700-800 yards. I'd like to be able to hit a target at 1,000 just to say I could and to play around with that. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. So thanks everyone for their input. So we'll see you guys on the next video.